I've been having a ton of fun playing Shadebinder on a Warlock, or Shadebanger, whatever you call it. It's a really cool class that has some defensive and offensive moves, and I find while it's not as fast as Top Tree Dawn, obviously, it gets me to move more slowly and methodically and think about what I'm doing. It's very clear to me what tools I have in my kit and how to use them, and the more I get used to them, the more I can pull off some really cool plays and get big multi-kills in control matches or do 1v3s in trials. I feel like people who play Shadebanger are often very thoughtful because they can't move very quickly and they have to time when they're using their staff or their grenades or their rift. They have to just time that really, really well. So it puts you in this interesting rhythm of really focusing on what abilities you have up and exactly when you're using them. When I'm put in this rhythm, it definitely makes me a more thoughtful player, and I'm able to play more effectively than I would when I'm on Behemoth, for example, and all the chains are off and I can just move as quickly as I want, wherever I want, and just kind of go balls to the wall. When I play classes like Behemoth or Top Tree Dawn, not that I play Top Tree Dawn much, but when I play those high mobility classes, or even Hunter, it gets me in this state of high aggression and a lot of speed where I'm not really thinking about what I'm doing because I have so many get out of jail free cards. But with Shadebinder, you can easily mess up using your abilities and waste them or not use them properly, and then you're out of luck. And in an ability heavy meta with 120s where everything just kills you really fast and people don't really even have to shoot you with guns to win, using your abilities thoughtfully is a really good way to win. Whether or not you like that meta, and I personally do not, it's what we have, so I'm trying to learn it all the same. And Shadebinder is one of the best ways, I think, to exist in this ability-heavy meta. Not only is it really good, but it's fun, and like I said, it gets me to slow down and think about what I'm doing. So now I want to talk about a couple of the tools that are in your belt in Shadebinder world. The first one obviously is the staff. This was recently buffed, so it goes a bit farther and a bit faster. When it hits somebody, it freezes them for about 1.65 seconds. They can easily just wait and break out of it. And if they do choose to break out of it, they'll take some damage, but most people just wait to let the freeze wear off because it's such a short freeze. But even if they do this, it doesn't even really matter, because if you freeze someone and you're running Whisper of Hedrons, which is a stasis fragment that's available to anyone, it just states that you get an increase to weapon damage when you freeze somebody for I think about 7 seconds. So if you're running that and you freeze someone and they break out and run away, it doesn't really matter because you've just given yourself like a 7-second kill clip, which is nuts because it's on all of your weapons and you didn't even have to get a kill to get it. You just had to like huck a grenade across the map and let your cold snap free someone, or your melee can free someone from pretty far away now, and then that can give you the damage boost too. So it's really effective to run Whisper of Hedrons on Shadebanger. I often do this where I'll just freeze someone with a staff and then run away because they will usually be near their teammates or something, or in a big group of enemies if you're in a 6v6 lobby, and then I'll just get my kill clip, well my false kill clip really, just from Whisper of Hedrons, and then just hang out, get my health back, and then dive back in, and I have a kill clip and full health, and it feels very unfair. Next ability that the Stasis Warlock has is the Freezing Rift that I wanted to talk about briefly. This doesn't really have a whole lot to say for it. It's pretty hard to get it to work on somebody, so it's just sort of like a nice backup that if somebody is pushing you right when you happen to be putting your rift down, hopefully you can get a freeze on them. So that's nice. It doesn't really happen often that it's something that you can plan. If it does, it's extremely funny and exciting, but for the most part, it's just kind of like a nice backup that you have. I think more people should probably swap that out for the stasis turret that you can make. You can just convert your grenade into a little stasis turret that you throw on the ground, and it can like attach slow stacks to people, which is pretty powerful. But I think people don't often want to burn grenades on turning them into turrets because while that's nice and all, sometimes grenades can just be more powerful than turrets, I would say. However, if you do want to go with a grenade heavy build on Shadebinder, that is pretty effective. You can use Whisper of Torment, which is where every time you take damage you get grenade energy. It's not like a huge amount of grenade energy, but it's still very useful for getting those cooldowns down, especially if you have like tier 8 discipline or something. On top of that, you could run Whisper of Shards, which is where every time you destroy a stasis crystal, you're getting more grenade energy. And because a lot of people are throwing stasis crystals, you can get a lot of grenade energy just by destroying those at the end of trials rounds, or in the middle of trials rounds, or in control matches where there's a lot of crystals. So pairing various fragments with the Shadebinder class can make it really effective, and I would highly recommend Whisper of Hedrons, Whisper of Shards, and Whisper of Torment. Those are the ones I like to run, and then in between that, I will probably put on something that gives me like plus 10 recovery or plus 10 strength to get the rift and the staff back faster, but really whatever you want to run is up to you, and I'm sure playing around with all the different fragments and the 2 aspects too, and make it so you'll have some really creative builds that will just make Shadebinder feel extremely good for however you want to play. It's one of those classes that's just already really good at base power, just like all the stasis classes, but when you start playing around with fragments and aspects to tailor them to your playstyle, it becomes extremely powerful and S tier, like all the stasis classes are. The only thing I'd recommend not changing, no matter what Shadebinder build you make, is keeping on the Ice Flare bolts, which is the freezing chains that spread out from target to target when you freeze somebody on Shadebinder or when you get a kill. Those are extremely powerful, and that's what's going to allow you to get big multi-kills or 1v3 moments in trials. People don't really expect it, and so that's partly what makes it so powerful, but it also kind of forces people to only push you one at a time. But I think is the biggest powerful aspect to it is that you get to have 1v1s in basically every trials fight that you want if you're playing your cover right and playing your abilities right. Granted, if people ape you at the exact same time and they trade out and you just die anyway and it's 1v3, then you lose, sure. But if you get them to push you like a split second apart from each other, then you can freeze the first one and that's going to chain to the next one. And so essentially what I felt like was happening to me in trials a lot was that if people didn't push me at the exact same time and one of them didn't trade with me with the shotgun, then I could often win because those Ice Flare bolts are chaining intensely these days. Okay, the next part of the Shadebinder subclass is the super, obviously. There are other aspects and fragments and things you can do with Shadebinder, but I'm pretty much just mentioning the things that I think are the most important and the most exciting. The super comes at the end of the list because while I think it's really good, it is a pretty defensive super because you can't chase anyone down with it, and if they choose not to fight you and just run. So this is another part of Shadebinder that feels like it's a very strategic thing where you need to coordinate when you're going to super with your team, because you can't just like pop a behemoth and go like solo the whole other team. It's a lot different these days where if you pop your Shadebinder, people can run away from you, so you need to coordinate with your team when you're going to do it and where you're going to do it so they can go for the cutoff. The super is really good. There's not much to say about it. You just shoot your projectiles, they track very intensely, and then you pop the staff up in the air and everything explodes. Good to play in your cover, I feel, because you're kind of slow moving, so if you are not in cover, people are going to burn you down. But the tracking is so nice on the super that it really doesn't matter. Just stick in your cover, peek out, shoot a projectile, duck back in, and throw that staff in the air, and you should be good. I've been running Claws of Ahamkara on Shadebinder to get 2 melee charges, which feels really effective, and I definitely am going to try that more, but I also am looking at Eye of Another World because I think that would be another really good exotic. Alright, that's about it for today. I'm just having a lot of fun with Shadebinder, and so I wanted to talk about it for a bit and show you some cool clips of me using it in Trials and 6v6. Looking forward to playing it more because it's really good and just trying to get better at it. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.